Chiasm must be meaningful. All right, if I say something over and over like this stuff, you need to know it, right? I keep saying what to write down because I want you to know it. I'm super proud of how well a lot of my students have taken notes. Apparently the sophomores that I had as freshmen last year, I've had a few teachers say that they are amazing note takers, and I'm going to go ahead and say that's because of me, and you guys should become that. This semester, we're taking so many notes, all right? The next is if you find something interesting. The best way to stay awake to succeed in this class is to force yourself to enjoy it and find it interesting. Try to engage somehow, all right? I'm not just asking you to take notes just because I like watching you guys suffer, all right? That's just a side effect. It just happens. I don't mean to make you suffer, but if you find something interesting, you won't suffer as much. Finally, if you have questions or you disagree with something, starting next class, there will be some opinions that you guys differ on from me. I was actually talking about this with Miss Westra, the other 9th grade Bible teacher that teaches this same material, and she said, she and I were talking about the passage we'll be doing next class. She and I both have one way of reading it. The book that you guys are reading about Genesis reads it a different way. They actually disagree with myself and Miss Westra. So there's going to be things you disagree with. Good. All right? That's a strength. We're not saying you have to read something one way. We're saying look at all the ways you can read it and decide which one you like. All right, that being said, we're going to go ahead. Unit 0, we're almost done with Unit 0. Just our laying the groundwork unit. And it's day 3. It's our 3rd day. All right. Unit 0, day 3. Today's date, 8/27/25. 8/27/25. So, are you asking a question or just moving on? Chiasm. That's the first thing we're doing. All right. It means a literary structure that uses repetition. Chiasm. CHIASM. That reading packet you had. All right. If I have a quiz on it, part of a lecture on it, and a reading packet to take home, it's probably pretty important. You can just assume it's something that I want to make sure you know, right? So, what? I'm going to keep on going over it. Chiasm, CHIASM, a literary structure that uses repetition or parallel ideas to emphasize something. So, it uses repetition and parallel ideas to emphasize something. This is something that you need to notice because they're all over the place. Right? It just showed up in the Babylon story, the Babel story, Tower of Babel. All right, what was in the very middle of that story? Did anybody catch it? What happens in the middle? Anybody know what was being emphasized in that story that you should have been reading just now? Anybody? What is like the point of the story? Yeah. Okay, they speak the same language, and then at the end they don't speak the same language. Alan, what's up? Babylon's bad. All right, those are some points. I'm going to go just show you a very complex. I think it's too complex. I think that I like the one that was in that reading packet that had the answers that I told you to use for the quiz. All right. Let's see, where is it? Right here. Here's how this works. In a chiastic structure, what you do is you start with idea A. The idea A for this was unity of language. All right, so the chiasm is going to start with one basic idea at the first part, and then it goes to B. B is unity of place. Now, if I was doing this one, I would just say idea A is unity. Unity. Then I would say intensive communications. Now, if I were to look at this, I would put these as one, and I would say man becomes prideful. All right, again, my opinion here, building, city, and tower, I would say construction of tower, sure, right? Constructing tower. All right, and then I would say good enough here, right? I like this one. This one's good. God intervenes, right? Or if I wanted to, I could say God disrupts man's pride or man's plans. And then, all right, so if I have parallel ideas, right, here's my A idea is unity. My B idea, man becomes prideful. C idea, constructing the tower. All right, my D, this happens to be in the very, very middle. That's why they put an X right here to mark that it's the important one. The middle is God's intervening, right? This story is based in a way that sets up when you lay a story out like this. You go idea A, idea B, idea C, all the way down. You go all the way down, and every time you find a parallel, you're going to change it, right? You're going to mark it as parallels, and then eventually you're going to get to your middle idea. In ancient cultures, this is what they would use for poems and for emphasis. They would parallel back and forth in order to tell you the thing we care about you knowing for the Tower of Babel is not, it's not where did man speak, right? How do we learn a bunch of different languages? The idea here is God is intervening and disrupting man's plans, right? God is intervening and disrupting human pride. That's the point of the story. Do we kind of see what I'm saying here a little bit? Or who's super confused? Anybody want to admit that? No? All right. So somebody shout out. Again, don't raise your hand. What idea would C end up being in this? If C is going to parallel, because I've broken them now into A, B, C, and D. So then this has to be C again, right? And this has to be B. And this has to once again be A. See how they're going to parallel? So this idea is going to parallel up here. What do we think I'm going to put? How do we parallel or maybe do the opposite, where this one references this one? The destruction of tower, right? Or confusion. Confusion. That's what I like to call this section. B would be man gets humbled. Man gets humbled. And disunity. All right, now if I read the story in this direction upwards or this direction, either way, what is the story about? It's about God intervening, right? It's about the same thing no matter what. That's the point of this structure, is that no matter which way you're reading it, no matter what you're thinking through, the author has an intent here. Now, it's not always going to be historical. We're going to actually practice this. Let's practice this real quick, this way of structuring things. Let's say that I want to tell about somebody's emotions. All right, somebody shout out a feeling or an emotion that you had this summer. Fred? Good. Good? Good's not really, I guess, feeling. Joy? All right, Brooklyn said joy. So, Brooklyn, let's say Brooklyn was overwhelmed with joy. How about that? All right? Brooklyn was overwhelmed with joy. With joy. She felt so joyous that she burst into tears. All right. Now, if I want some other ideas here, and I could do A twice or B twice, whatever, right? All right, Brooklyn, what was it that overwhelmed you with joy this summer? Brooklyn got her first paycheck. All right, how'd you get this paid? How'd you get paid? How'd you get paid? Why did you get paid? What did you do to get paid? All right, so Brooklyn, is this your first job? No. Brooklyn got a summer job. All right, now, what am I going to do? How am I going to parallel for B here? How is B going to show up again, you think? To your opinion. Okay, you could say, what about this? School started. Brooklyn. Well, we got to parallel this paycheck part, right? Brooklyn wasted her paycheck, okay, or maybe say saw taxes for the first time, saw what taxes were. All right, and then we got to parallel. We have to keep up with our story, but we also have to parallel this, right? Or maybe we could do this. Brooklyn is no longer getting paid. Brooklyn quit her summer job. All right. Our point is the joy, right? Now, how true is this, Brooklyn? How accurate to your experience is this story? Super accurate? You didn't quit. So it's not very accurate. It's there, right? There's truth, right? It's not a fake story in the sense of it's true. And if my point is she was joyous, right? Were you so joyous that you burst into tears? You did cry? Okay, what a good guess though. So, but it's not quite true that you cried, but the idea is true, right? The idea here is true. So this is what I'm saying. When we see these show up in the Bible, and we're going to see them all the time, one of the things that they're doing is they're showing the author has an intent they want you to know, and it's not are the events the thing that matter in this experience? How much do the events matter for what as I told the story? Anybody? Brooklyn, how much do they matter? How much did the events matter for the storytelling? Nah. Take it or leave it, right? Because I can change them. I can change them around. I could move the events however I wanted. The point is her joy. So this is what a chiastic structure is, right? It's going to indicate to you what the author cared about. You can find these throughout, and we're not all going to agree on where the chiastic structure is, but we are going to see these pop up. So I want us to know what they are. I'm going quick on this because I have other things I want to talk about today. But you need to look out for these and realize that if you can set up the story into a chiastic structure, if it's possible to do that, you need to look and notice it. You need to pay attention. The author is calling your attention to something on purpose, right? They have a goal there. Now, again, we're all going to disagree with what that goal might be at different times, but we're going to look at a story like Noah's flood story. The flood story of Noah is broken up into at least 3 chiasms, right? It's at least one giant chiasm. Some people debate that it's 3. Some people will debate where it starts, and if you started at a different point, it gets to a different point and a different goal. So we're going to all have those kinds of things this semester. This is what we're doing, right? We're looking at the literature side of things. This is pretty advanced stuff, but it's important stuff nonetheless. And it is pretty fun once you start getting good at it. All right, so keep this in your brains. Keep the word chiasm over and over, because going forward, I'm going to say chiasm a lot. I'm going to expect that you just know it. So if you didn't read that packet, even though you can't do the quiz, you need to read it so that you're caught up for the semester, okay? So keep reading that, please. Now, here's the next thing I want to talk about, is a creation myth. We've talked about what myths are. We've mentioned myths before. I'm going to put this other thing on the board here. All right, here's our note thing, whatever. All right, we're going to talk about some creation myths. Now, the thing about creation myths that I want you to catch, that I want you to notice as important, creation myths are going to tell us what happens if I say this is important. Make sure you write that down, right? Creation myths are going to tell us what culture values. They're going to tell us about cultural values, what they find important. So a nation's creation myths, I'm repeating something and I've said it's important to write it down. A nation's creation myths will tell us their cultural values. It will tell us what they think about, what they think matters. So a creation myth tells us what they think matters, and it tells us about cultural values. So we're going to talk about one creation myth. We're going to be able to learn about the culture based on what they say, how they say things were created. So yes. It tells us what the culture matters, or thinks matters, right? It tells us the cultural values of a culture. how they interact with their deities. How you interact with your deities is going to tell us what you think is important, right? If you say these are chaotic goblins that just want to pillage and destroy, what are you as people probably going to do? Pillage and destroy, right? But if you say our gods that we worship and value are peaceful and loving and kind, what are you probably going to do in order to worship them? Hopefully it's be loving and peaceful and kind, right? So we're going to look at the Enuma Elish today. 13th century Babylonian creation narrative. Creation myth. All right, Babylonian creation myth. Enuma Elish, 13th century. This means 1300 BCE. 13th century BCE, right before Jesus, 1300 years before Common Era. Do we remember when the Bible started getting redacted? Anybody look at your notes from Unit 0, Day 1? When did the Bible start getting redacted? And, oh, close enough. And yeah, exactly. 597, right? Is the 13th century BCE older or younger than when the Bible started being written down like that? Way older, right? So what can we guess? What can we guess about if this is 13th century? What do we guess about how this might relate to the Bible? This might influence it, right? The Bible will react to this in some ways. Now, the amount that the Bible is going to respond to this story, the Enuma Elish, is debatable. But we know who the Babylonians are, right? Who are the Babylonians? Somebody from your notes. Who's Babylon? The bad guys, right? Yeah, the bad guys that put them in exile. Good job, Brooklyn. Thank you. So we know these guys are going to be responded to. There's got to be a way, somehow or another, that the Bible is going to respond to their big villains. They're going to respond to their creation myth by saying, this is what you find valuable, but this is what we find valuable. So before we can really look at that, right, because, again, this is way older, we should look at this first. Because people that are older, things that are older, typically influence the younger things, right? I'm the oldest person in this room, at least I hope I am, because it's just me and the students in here. If I'm not the youngest person in this room, then you need to leave and not be a high school student, right? You're way too old at 32 to be a high school student. So I'm the oldest in here. What am I going to do this semester? I'm going to influence you guys in some way or the other, right? I will have influence on your lives, maybe not major influence, maybe minor influence. I don't know, but I will influence you in some way because I am older and I'm your teacher. So this is going to do probably some of that. So first we have to outline it. Now, let's do an outline. So I'm going to do a quick weird one. The events are mostly right. I don't know I forgot one of the names, but his name doesn't matter that much. Saltwater god Tiamat. There's a saltwater god, right? The Babylonians start with a god of saltwater, or goddess, I should say, and the freshwater god. Now, again, this is the bad guys. This is what they said. I can't remember this guy's name. We could look it up later. There's a freshwater god. All right. The two of them just kind of exist. Saltwater, freshwater. Primordial beings that have been around for a long time, according to the Babylonians. Then, they're going to mix their waters. Mix their waters. All right, what do we think is going to happen if they mix their waters? This is a euphemism for something. All right. Let's say this. If saltwater and freshwater love each other very much, what's going to happen? Yeah, you're right on that. All right, let's say this. If a mommy god and a daddy god love each other very much, what's going to happen? New creation. Yeah, they're going to make little baby gods. Little baby gods. Little gods get made. All right? So then, they get made, right? They make little baby gods. Now, one of the things that's of note of Babylonian gods, their gods still have human needs, right? They have needs. They actually need to eat and sleep, need to eat, uh, need to eat and sleep, right? They're not just eternally around. They need to eat and sleep. So what do we think? What is a little baby God? What is a little God going to start doing that might not be great, right? Once the little God comes out, yeah. Yeah, well, they're going to make a bunch of noise. All right, this is just like freshmen when they become, when it gets to October. Right, the little gods act just like you guys when it gets to October. You make a whole bunch of noise, right? So, what do we think? How do we think these gods are going to react? Anybody got a good guess? How about this one? All right. They plot to murder the little god. So, mommy and daddy aren't very happy, and they decide we're going to murder all these little babies. All right. So these little bar things, they're just going bar and banging on the cave. It's really weird description. If you read the story, they're like going into their house and slapping the walls and making a whole bunch of noise. It's chaotic, right? They're chaotic beings. So far in our theme, what is a running theme we have for the Babylonian narrative? Is chaos, right? Chaos is constant. Chaos is a given. You could say chaos is a given is our idea here. All right, they plot to murder. So what are the little gods going to do as revenge? They're going to go and attack, fight back. Ultimately, I'm going to say resulting in death of daddy. That's what we'll call. I can't remember his name. We'll call him the daddy god. All right, there we go. They kill Papa Bear. So Tiamat, salt water, floods earth. So she sends a great flood and starts killing them. She gets angry. She starts killing them. Right? They have this war, this fight. All right. So the little gods are going to make the main Babylonian gods. They create and appoint a very important name here, Marduk. What good names we've got. M-A-R-D-U-K. Marduk. They make Marduk. This guy is a sun god. Sun god. Uses a bow and arrow. Harnesses wind. Marduk. He harnesses the wind, and ultimately he wins. This guy's super OP, all right? They create somebody, just an OP character, to roll up and destroy their mom. So, all right, so Marduk does what many people have wanted to do at some point, and buries grandmother. That's a terrible joke. Shouldn't say that. Tiamat's body sliced up to create earth, to create ground. Blood mixed with dirt to make humans.
Oh my gosh.
Humans make temples. All right, let's walk through this. So, Marduk slaughters grandmother. Right, slaughters the big one. Slices her body up into pieces and makes the earth, makes ground, pulls it out, uses that to make ground. Then takes the blood and mixes it with the ground. How that works, I'm not quite sure. Takes the blood mixed with dirt to make humans. So humans in this story are made out of blood and dirt. What the heck? Yeah. And then, finally, humans, in turn, have to make temples. Now, why do we think humans are having to make temples? To praise. Why are they worshiping Marduk, though? Why do we worship Marduk, according to Babylonians? What? Okay. Because he's the strongest. That's it. Because he's the strongest and toughest. Right? It's not because he does good things. They're making temples because, according to the Babylonians, humans were just servants for the gods. They're to provide for God's needs, right? They need something. Humans have to serve them. We are subservient beings built to worship the strong. It is the strong, right? And all right, would we say this is an orderly or chaotic story? Chaotic, right? It's a time of chaos. It's a story of chaos. Now, when we get to things later, we will see chaos and order as a running theme. So here's what we're going to do. We remember our three big things from last class. We had origin stories. What else did we have? We had what? All right, origin stories. What's the next one? What's the next one? Anybody? Shout it out. Shout it in. What? Law and Order. Well done. And somebody shout out our last one. Somebody shout out the last one. Got it? First one was origin stories. This was last class, Unit 0, Day 2. We had what? Polemic. Well done. All right, polemic. Yeah, we had origin stories, law and order, and polemic is the themes we've used. Now, here's what I'm going to ask for you guys today from your assignment. Your assignment will be to read a psalm. We're going to read one right now and discuss it. And you're going to match it to one of these. You're going to say it's an origin story, or it's law and order, or it's a polemic, and here's why. Now, a polemic could be something that just does the opposite of this, right? It puts creation in an orderly way to say our God is better because he is orderly, right? Maybe that's why you think it is. Or it does what we're about to read, which is very much those people are bad. We hate them, right? It could be that. Or it could be praise the laws because the laws are good. Here's why we have laws. It could be any one of these. All right, so open your Bible to Psalm chapter 137. It's page 518, chapter 137. And then we'll probably have that fire drill come out. All right, yes. Can you wait 1 second? If you need to go ahead and go, and then you'll just have to meet us if the bell goes.
Oh no.
All right, so page 518, chapter 137. Beside the rivers of Babylon, we sat and wept as we thought of Jerusalem. We put away our harps, hanging them 137. Hanging them on the branches of poplar trees. For our captors demanded a song from us. Our tormentors insisted on a joyful hymn. Sing us one of those songs of Jerusalem. But how can we sing the songs of the Lord while in a pagan land? If I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget how to play the harp. May my tongue stick to the roof of my mouth. If I fail to remember you, if I don't make Jerusalem my greatest joy, O Lord, remember what the Edomites did on the day the armies of Babylon captured Jerusalem. Destroy it, they yelled. Level it to the ground. O Babylon, who will be destroyed? Happy is the one who pays you back for what you have done to us. Happy is the one who takes your babies and smashes them against the rocks. All right. We didn't know that was in the Bible, did we? All right, which one of these three do we think this is? Polemic, right? Speaking against some people. Saying, look how they failed us, look how bad they are. So today, in addition to this, you're going to take all of this stuff, you're going to tell me a comparison and contrasting, right? Is this an origin story and it's different? So you'll look at some Psalms that I list out. You'll tell me, is it an origin story and it's different than the Enuma Elish in this way? Or you'll say it's law and order, right? Because it focuses on doing the right thing for the right reason and it's orderly. Or will you tell me it's a polemic? It hates the Babylonians. It hates these people, right? Which one is it? You're going to find all three of these today, and you're going to have your reason. I'm not going to give you a right or wrong score. I'm just going to say which one can you do. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to look and you're going to do your own version of what Brooklyn and I practice, right? So hopefully Brooklyn wrote this down and can get to it before I erase it in about 30 seconds, because I did half of her work for her, right? So you're going to do a chiastic structure, demonstrate to me today that you know what chiasms are, that you can do this yourself and identify them, and then you'll answer some questions about it. All right, so let's see.